The FBI and other U.S. intelligence agencies are sharing new details about Iran's efforts to influence the upcoming election.
Now, they include allegations that Iranian hackers stole information from the Trump campaign and then sent it to people connected to President Biden's campaign.
Now, a former Biden campaign official tells CBS News this unsolicited material was never used. And federal officials say there's no evidence the recipients of the stolen material even responded. Former director of the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, that's Chris Krebs, joined CBS News 24/7 earlier to discuss theories surrounding these allegations.
The investigation seems to have begun back in June, so keeping in mind that that was when President Biden was still in the race. How they found out, I think, is still unclear. There are two leading theories. The first is that, well, the Biden campaign notified the FBI, which is what we would encourage as a best practice when any organization, a political campaign or otherwise, receives information or outreach from a foreign intelligence operative. You want to let law enforcement know. The second theory is that the FBI, when they initially became aware of the Robert individual who was sending this stolen information from the Trump campaign to media outlets, when they got information on his AOL account, they were then potentially able to see some of the people that he reached out to, and in that he could have seen a Biden contact or a staffer in that distribution.
All right, let's go a little bit deeper with CBS News senior White House and political correspondent Ed O'Keefe. So, Ed, has the administration said anything about this?
Not yet, Lana, and it's important to remember that they were very clear, the Harris, formerly Biden campaign, that it's people associated with the campaign at the time, not staffers, but people associated with the campaign. Who is that? Is it family members of the of the president? Is it White House officials who weren't on the campaign payroll? Is it some other friend or associate of the president or those associated with the campaign? The White House hasn't replied to questions about it. The campaign, now known as the Harris-Walz campaign, won't tell us. And important to point out, as Chris Krebs is surmising, whether or not the campaign ever alerted the FBI, they won't tell us whether they did or not, nor when they found out about this. So in a statement, and you alluded to some of this, the campaign spokeswoman said that we're not aware of any material being sent directly to the campaign by these Iranian actors, adding later that a few individuals were targeted on their personal emails with what looked like a spam or phishing attempt. Remember, phishing, P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G. And that the Harris campaign has cooperated with federal authorities since they were made aware of the individuals associated with the campaign being among those sought after by this foreign influence campaign. The Trump campaign turns around and says they believe that this is evidence of further proof that the Iranians are actively interfering in the election to help Harris, previously President Biden. And it's also because they believe the Iranians know President Biden, quote, will restore his, or President Trump will restore his tough sanctions and stand against their reign of terror. So Trump campaign suggesting it's political. Harris campaign, formerly known as the Biden campaign, saying it didn't come to campaign staff. It was people associated. It was their personal email. And we did nothing with it when they got that information anyway.
So, Ed, give us a bit of a reality check then, because as you consume this news, you wonder, should people be concerned about foreign election interference? We've been warning about it for a long time. You know, Russia interfered in multiple elections. Or is there a bit of relief since the FBI was aware of this and tried to extinguish it?
Well, I think what this shows us is that there are certainly attempts underway to at least get to people who could make use of the information, whether it's valid or not. Remember, this is the same attempt, it appears, that was used to try to get Politico and the Washington Post to write about information obtained about the Trump campaign, which was essentially deemed innocuous or otherwise public information. Didn't have to come from a Trump campaign memo because it was like a memo about J.D. Vance, and it was all publicly available information. So Politico and the Washington Post didn't really do anything with it other than to reveal later that they were contacted. Looks like it might be the same situation. So yeah, we know, as federal agencies have been warning, as CBS News has reported, Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, other foreign entities trying to influence the elections in various ways, either by spreading misinformation or stoking public protest across the country, because this is a free and open society that can be pretty vulnerable to that kind of potential manipulation if those involved or those reporting on it don't have their guard up and are on the lookout for this kind of misinformation and these foreign attempts.
All right, Ed O'Keefe, thank you.